July 9th Prescott Unified School District Governing Board meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 4, approval of the agenda. Item 4A, consider approving the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No. Because in my opinion,
We already went through the discussion.
June 25th was tainted with political impropriety.
We're going to move on
conflicts of interest.
to item
and
5A.
Excuse
Linda?
me.
No, we had a discussion. We already went through it.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you why I
Well,
voted no.
this is about approving
Stan.
the agenda.
And I'm voting no and telling
Yes.
you why I'm not voting for it.
Okay.
So because of the 3 board members who orchestrated to publicly attempt to shame me, thanks to this board, that's why I'm voting no.
So you know that this agenda item is about tonight's agenda, yes?
No, the draft agenda.
We're approving tonight's agenda.
Tonight's agenda first.
Tonight's
The minutes.
agenda, then I approve tonight's agenda. I apologize, but my comment will be for the past one.
Number 5.
Okay, item 5, approval of the minutes. Item 5A, consider approving the minutes for the regular study and voting session meeting on June 25th, 2024 as presented. I'll take a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Are there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No,
Okay.
my statement stands.
Item 6, presentations. Item 6A, recognition of PUSD donor. Mr. Tenney.
Okay, well, I am excited about this. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. We have a wonderful couple here who we met, it's probably been 9 months ago, maybe, first at the Grapes for Good event that the Rotary Club puts on. And I met several nice people that evening. I met Bob and Dina Lucas that evening, who are here in the audience with us. And I didn't think much of it. I just thought, well, that was a super nice couple. Met some other nice people and whatnot. I believe I shared with them, that kind of where we're at financially in the district, and gave my card and whatnot. So a few months later, they called me up and they said, we'd like to make a donation. I said, that's fantastic. Let's talk about that a little bit. We have kind people in the community who make donations all the time. We're so fortunate that many people recognize that Arizona doesn't.
Excuse me, can you talk into the mic?
I can.
Can we turn it up any? Okay.
I'll try to
Oh,
not
there.
turn my head.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll
you bet.
turn my-
You good? You can hear okay?
Yeah,
Okay, super.
I'll turn them up.
So anyhow, a lot of folks recognize that we are not well funded by the state of Arizona, and that the legislature expects us to rely on local funding. And our local folks used to do that when Stan and I were in school here, Andy was in school here, Kelsey was in school here, and Sarah was in school here. A lot of us were in school here. Our community always stepped up to pass overrides and bonds and whatnot, so there was adequate funding to provide good education. But that's not been the case for the last several years, and I explained that to the Lucases. At any rate, they contacted us and said, we'd like to make a donation, which is super nice. And again, I want to recognize that we have a lot of great community donors who say, hey, I've got $500 I want to donate to the band, or I've got $26.50 that our kids raised selling lemonade that we want to give to the PTA at Lincoln, or whatever it is. Just some really neat things like that. And some people who make substantial donations as well of thousands of dollars. The Lucases visited with me about some of the areas in which we had specific needs in terms of interventions for students to help kids who haven't mastered learning the first time through in classes and whatnot. Tutoring, which is something that we get $0 from the state for. Summer school, which is another area we get $0 from the state for. And their interest was sparked. They've been mentioned to me. They've been fortunate in the way that they've invested and have wonderful hearts. And is it all right if I mention the amount? Are you comfortable with that? All right, good.
I fell over.
Yeah.
The chief financial officer, what he told me.
And we did announce it last month, too,
Yeah.
publicly.
But
just
you
so
weren't in the
you're
room. I didn't want to embarrass you. Great. Anyhow, the Lucases were kind and donated $100,000 to Prescott Unified School District students to help them learn. I get goosebumps every time I think about it and talk about it. They initially said, just want to remain anonymous, and I think I talked them into a low level of recognition. Coming to a board meeting one time and spending a little time, I can tell they're uncomfortable, so I won't drag this out. But we just want to thank you so much for your generosity, for thinking of the kids in town who really do have some specific needs that we try to meet the very best we can with the resources we have, but it'll make it even easier for the next little while because of your generosity. So thank you so much for that. We have a little certificate for you, and then do you want to explain kind of the
bet.
challenge coin? Would you mind?
Yeah.
So Mr. Galagasi will explain what we've got for you.
So first, I just want to read this certificate. So this certificate is proudly presented to Bob and Dina Lucas in appreciation for your generous donation to the students of Prescott Unified School District. We express our sincere gratitude for your contribution. Presented this 9th day of July 2024. Thank you very much. And also, this is a coin, and this is our board coin. And through this process, there's a nomination that occurs to those that we want to recognize for contributing their hard work and their excellence towards PUSD. But we'd also like to recognize you, and something that you could put on a mantle, on a table, just something that shows that we appreciate you, and if specifically from the board. But we all know that the kids really win. We all know that the teachers really win. And when I think back of those that probably donated throughout our history of PUSD, and it's over 100 years, 150 years, there's ball fields named after him. There's buildings named after them. And I just think this is a tremendous gift, and we're thankful that you at least came here and we had the opportunity to thank you. So thank you very much.
You're absolutely welcome to stick around for the remainder of the meeting. It's not super exciting, but you're. It's good to have. If I had my choice of dinner or board meeting, that's what I would choose.
I think you are the first official non-employee to receive the challenge coin. You are, so thank you so much.
We'll report back to you what we allocate everything to. Again, if you've got specific, we talked about categories. We'll honor
Thank
that
you, sir.
for sure, but if you've got specifics, you let us know. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you're right. And that's one of the largest donations in the history of Prescott Unified School District over 100 years.
Yeah.
And really, really meaningful.
Yeah. All right. It's hard to move on from that one. Okay, item 7A, summary of current events. Mr. Tenney.
Okay, super. Couple of things just really quick. I sent a board report to you last week with a few things, and I won't go over everything, but I know not everybody has time to look at that real carefully. We're in a new contract year, so we've had some employees who have finished up their time with us and some new folks come on with us. Andy met today with, what, about half of our new employees-ish?
Yep, we met with half, and we covered just a few HR-related things, but mainly talked about benefits and gave them a chance to ask some questions and kind of have a good first chance to chat with them. So it was a great experience with them.
Yeah, it was neat to see part of the new group together already and kind of their excitement and learning new things about PUSD. Some of the interface that you've got with folks specifically on a regular basis. Renee Steingraber, who's been our testing coordinator, has retired a second time. Maybe she'll come back a third time, we'll see. But at any rate, she's living the good life these days. Kayla Rangel, who's been one of our instructional coaches, will be taking on her role as the testing coordinator. Marty, as you know, has retired, so we've restructured our district admin team, and we're going to try to do good things and support our principals and our directors and whatnot. Make sure we run the district efficiently with the four of us going forward, so that'll be good. We've got a new ESS director that started with us this last week, Maya Caldwell, who worked for us previously, a couple years ago, as our grants coordinators, and has had since experience as an ESS director in Chino Valley, is back with us now, and we're excited about that. She's already just hitting the ground running, doing some great things, so we're super excited about that. As well, summer school wrapped up about a week ago. We had 230 students and 35 staff who were involved with that, as you know, working on their academic skills, filling in gaps in a lot of cases, and then enriching and extending their learning in many cases as well. Lots of projects going on our campuses. There's some structural kinds of things, some beautification things. I love that we're going to have the Abijah Library open back up here in hopefully, 10 days-ish, something like that. We're working on the final, putting the ceiling back in, and where did this light go? Was it there or there? Et cetera, but that'll be nice that the kids can be back there. We've resurfaced some sidewalk areas for additional safety and curb appeal, so that's nice, and a lot of great things going on that way. Kelsey and Andy and I have been involved in principal evaluation conferences. We've met with 5 of them so far, 4 or 5 of them for sure, one of those, and they've just been great. It's super neat to talk about what goals they have for themselves and what expectations the district has in terms of their evaluation instrument, and look at areas where they've just nailed it and areas where we want them to absolutely do more of that, and areas where we say, hey, what about this for a target for growth next year? They've been really, really positive comments, and I've had reinforced for me again how fortunate we are to have terrific principals in our district. That's not a blessing that every district enjoys in Arizona, and we do. As well, last couple of things, I was able to attend with Jane, actually, the PUSD Education Foundation Board Retreat. Last week, talked about some great things, the things that they have done for us over the last year, and what plans that they've got for this next year in terms of their fundraising programs that they've got that benefit our schools and our kids, and just love them. Talked about Teacher's Closet, and I'm already moving toward some additional space for you, by the way.
I didn't know that, but
I think we're going to be
I
good
would be
there.
looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
that'll be great. Anyhow, that was a very positive, productive set of discussions with them as well. We just appreciate everything they do. As well, we've got a couple of quick slides here. Oh, okay. Well, we were able to thank the Lucases just now. What a neat couple. They're just, you didn't have a lot of time to interface with them, but I just need to say again, anybody who gives $100,000 to kids, there's probably something pretty special about them, but above and beyond and apart from that, that's a neat couple. As you know, the board approved some Interact ambassadors with the Rotary International to head to Mexico and to Kenya, I believe were the 2 countries, to deliver mobility devices to folks in those countries who have mobility issues. And our 2 gals who these are 2 from Mexico, right, who went to Mexico, have returned, and according to Mrs. Cherry, who's the academic advisor there, had a really, really positive experience and blessed the lives of some people down there. So thanks again for the board for approving that. And I think that sums it up for me.
All right, great. Item 7A2, governing board members. Andy?
Just one thing, the Mile High MTB team is doing some really great things this summer. Just because they post information on social media, I get to see it, but they had an event at Bikesmith Cyclery that was hosted by that business to help the students understand mechanical issues with their bikes and how to fix those. It's just really cool to see the middle schoolers being so involved in this. I mean, it's a really high energy group. I see them when I'm out riding on the trails, and they are super excited, super talented, really good kids. So it's a lot of fun. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Scott Bedeau, who put that group together, and all the work that he's done. So
Pretty neat. Thanks for that.
yeah.
Ms. Khan?
Go ahead. I have nothing to report. I haven't been out.
The only thing I did, I actually went by a judge yesterday to see what was happening with the library and see how it looked, and talked to the head guy there. And he is extremely optimistic that they'll be done by next week. He just said they were waiting on city approval, which Brian probably knows more than me, but it's looking good. I mean, it looks like they're just about ready to put ceiling tiles back in, and I think it's, if he's right, we'll make it.
Excellent.
It's a little bit chaotic, but not too bad right now.
I just want to say that, summertime, especially 4th of July in Prescott, is a pretty special time. It's like a reunion every year. We had a 20 and a 30-year class reunion that was here just this last week. So a lot of people came back home, and just to see not only our recent grads that are down there and the tremendous work that they're doing and how accomplished they are, but just accomplished people in general that graduate from PUSD, from orthodontists to retired servicemen and women, people going into the academies, people that are currently serving people. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, they're keeping the Badger pride alive, and, it's a good down-home type of event. And from the parade and the kiddie parade and everything else. And there are a lot of kids, I'll tell you, in the kiddie parade that the Kiwanis put on, and it just seems like it's growing and growing each year. So that's a great sign for us. So
Excellent.
all right. Item 7B, community comments shared with the governing board. Does anybody have anything?
Just one thing, I had a meeting with a parent earlier this summer, right after school was out, and just the excitement they expressed. Their children went through Skyview School, which they loved, and had a great experience at Skyview, but their children were very excited to start at Prescott High School and get involved with the extracurricular activities that they have there, finding their niche at PHS. So that was good to hear that there is that feeling of excitement.
Just one more thing I just thought of when you mentioned that. I was working at church today and talked to a retired man who's moved here about 5 years ago, and he said that it was really too bad that schools didn't do anything vocationally anymore. And I said, where did you hear that? He said, well, I came from California, and we just don't there's no wood shop anymore, there's no welding, and I said, well, let me tell you about CTED. And we just had a really good conversation, and when it was over, he said, I had no idea that PUSD was doing that. He said, I didn't think that even happened anymore. And I said, we need to prepare kids who might not be college bound. So I told him, I didn't tell Dave yet, but I invited him out to the CTEC campus. Told him to call Dave and see about that, because it always amazes me at how much people don't know. And it's not necessarily through their own fault. He was just misinformed. He assumed that what was happening in California when he left was happening here as well. And I said, we had a downflux for a while, we did, where we didn't do as much of our vocational ed, but it's back and it's roaring, and people need to know that. So it was kind of fun to talk to somebody who listened and said, that's really amazing, I'm going to check into it.
Excellent. We do get a lot of that, people moving in from other states and thinking, whatever bad things I heard there must be worse here, and not always the case.
Anything else? All right, moving on to action items. Item 8A, consent agenda. Everybody's had a chance to look over the consent agenda. Is there anything that you like pulled or discussed? Okay, hearing none, I'd consider approving the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's Motion is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8B, do we have anybody wishing to speak on item 8B? Okay. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 8C, study and voting session. Is there any requests to speak on any of these items? Okay, great. Moving on to 8C1, consider adopting the fiscal year 2025 expenditure budget as presented. Brian.
So in the cycle of school finance, before July 5th, the proposed budget needs to come in front of the governing board, but more importantly, it's then posted on Prescott Unified School District's website with a meeting link, so they know when this meeting is. So they can preview the summary, they can preview the budget itself, and then they can come and discuss. That has been done, and so now it is time to formally adopt this upcoming year's budget, which pretty much solidifies the tax rate. Again, last week, or 2 weeks ago, mentioned that it went down like 35/10,000%. But also Prescott's assessed value went up 6%. So anyway, taxes may go up a little bit, but the tax rate went down. Anyway, with that being said, nothing changed between the proposed and the adopted budget in front of you. And so with your vote, it will become official. And if we are, once again, this is current year funding, so it's estimated on a projection of students. And if we are over projected by 1% of what actually occurs, we have to do a budget revision in December. And so we'll see how it comes out.
We've guessed pretty well the last few years on that, so we've been fortunate to not have to do budget revisions.
No, we don't
recently.
guess. We educated estimate
Yeah,
based
we've
upon
estimated-
data.
there you go, there you go. Thank
and
you.
many years of experience.
I've actually warned Brian in the past about using the word guess as
I
it
know.
as it refers to finances. So thanks for that. I appreciate that. The other neat thing for me, people sometimes realize and sometimes don't realize, our tax rate for PUSD is already substantially lower than most other districts in the state. And then to hear that it, I mean, not by a whole lot, right? 35,000ths of 1% or something, but to hear that the rate is going down even further is a nice thing.
Are we open for questions? Or do you want to have a motion first?
Let me do a motion first, thanks, Cindy.
Okay.
Okay. I'll consider a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2025 expenditure budget. Do I have a motion?
As so moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion?
Just a question on the estimate. You said if we're 1% off either direction?
No,
Up or down?
only if we're over.
If we're over?
So if we under budgeted, we do receive that budget capacity back
Okay,
through money that is at the treasurer's office when we went a little too high.
okay,
No, so we adjust our budget bubble. Will get bigger if we get more kids.
okay.
Hello?
Oops, we just lost mics.
Yep, mics are down. But if it is, if we are over budgeted by 1% or about 260,000, we'll have to adjust our bubble smaller.
Okay. So in looking at the ADM numbers, that's what this is really, that's the basis, right? of our-
Absolutely, everything drives
Yeah,
the
okay.
ADM numbers.
So we're going up by roughly
30-some.
80, 70 students, 60 students,
Yeah.
maybe. Okay.
The ADM that you're looking at, I believe on the summary page, unfortunately, that's what's called attending
Yeah.
ADM. So it's not funded.
Right.
Because we do have Williamson Valley kids that come. They're included in those numbers, but they're not they don't affect the budget,
Okay.
except for page 7 where it says tuition from other
From
districts, and that's that. We budgeted on a budget level ADM about 30 to 35 students more than what we had this year.
Okay.
So that we don't hit that, because if we do under budget, if we don't have the capacity cash at the treasurer's office, we have to take a line of credit and get charged interest, so.
Okay.
And we've talked about this before, but ADM roughly correlates with
Right.
our actual enrollment, but it's not our actual enrollment number. I believe
Yeah.
I saw in the paper earlier this week, we're projecting enrollment of about 3,650, and that's not accurate, at ADM of roughly that. But as Brian said, because we have tuition-paying kids who come from other places, we've got kindergarten kids who only count for half an ADM. We've got lots of
Right.
preschool kids who count for 0 ADM. We're still looking at roughly about 4,000 kids next year.
Okay. Yeah, and I wanted to make that correction. I
Yeah.
thought after I said that, this isn't enrollment we're talking about. This is AD.
And,
annual daily
and it's
membership.
tough. On that summary page where it has fiscal year 23, 24, and 25 ADM, I wish they didn't use attending ADM because our revenue control limit is not based on that because
Okay.
those Williamson Valley kids are included in that, where the tax rate is not included with those students. So
Okay.
anyway, on a budgetary standpoint, about 30 to 35 students more than we had this year
Okay.
as a buffer.
Okay. Any other questions because I have one more. Go ahead. Or a comment. I don't know if it's a question, but I see a lot of decreases from last year to this year. So thank you, number one, because we were able to still hit some major priorities this year with the budget. How do you do that? That's what, one of them I'm seeing is a 43% reduction, and I see that as school-sponsored co-curricular activities.
Yeah. You know, that page 2, it's difficult because what you're seeing is the allocation to all those different functions and object codes within that budget matrix. But what happens is we have to distribute any money that we are projecting that we have, including carry forward, which we know we want to go down a little. Also, last year, there was about $1 million in one-time money that also was in that matrix.
And it has to be allocated to
And it
something,
has to
whether or
be
not we end up
allocated
spending
in
it.
that matrix because it's M&O. It was part of our maintenance and operation budget. So literally that matrix had about 1.5 to 1.6 million less dollars allocated. But then when they compare last year's budget to this year's budget, it shows then the negative decrease of budget capacity. It's just because we have less money in M&O for next year because that 1 million was one time last year, and then also the carry forward going down as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All of these new curriculums we've bought are all paid for then by previous budgets, or like we just adopted the new math curriculum, which is the 4th curriculum. You and I were meeting until the end of school, and then you've been up on Fridays, so we haven't been able to meet. But so all of that is already paid for, our science curriculum, our math curriculum, everything's set to go, because we just brought on beyond textbooks to supplement those other curriculums, I guess.
Yes, yes, and yes. The math curriculum, we just did the purchase order for that. And so when we receive the curriculum that the governing board approved, last governing board meeting, we will pay for that. But yes, we are in contract and or have paid for all of our curriculum. The only
Paid
thing,
in full, paid in full for those, or is it like that one curriculum that's for like 5 years? or
most of them
something?
are for 5 years, and then
Okay.
it's sometime advantageous to, because we're entered into a contract, sometimes it's advantageous to pay it in full. So there's a discount. So depending upon the contract and what's best for Prescott Unified and our financial stability, we pay it as what's beneficial for us. So it may be 5 installments over 5 years, or it may be paid in full up front.
Okay.
But the math curriculum that was adopted last, we will pay that within a couple weeks, and it'll come out of our district additional assistance, which is our capital money.
So I was confused too, Brian, other than that, on the salary increases. I was under the impression it was a 4% raise.
No.
But teachers are getting a 3% raise?
The governing board voted unanimously in March, I believe it was unanimous, might have been 4-1, for,
April, I think.
it was March
Oh.
2nd, or
Okay.
it was before spring break, the day before we gave contracts out. The governing board
yeah.
philosophically on contracts and the budget for this year. Once again, March's governing board meeting is not a mandated. It's a, we expect this amount of increase in revenue, we expect the increase in expenses, and we want to give this raise. It was a 3% raise across the board that the governing board voted on. It was not
Okay.
4.
So is that why we're adjusting all the salary schedules then, or is that factored in?
In
with-
March, the governing board also approves any new salary schedules, which usually, whatever the raise is, we embed half of the raise into the salary schedule so it continues to be competitive. We don't do the full raise. If we did that, a first-year person coming in would make the same as a second-year person coming in because the raise matches what the set schedule is increased. So the governing board did vote on that in March, which did pass. We do have one coming in front of the governing board today, but that doesn't have anything to do with the budget or raises.
Right now.
It has to do with a situational competitive salary schedule for a resignation. So salary schedules were approved by the governing board in March.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain on this budget because we haven't been able to meet more than a couple times, and I haven't seen the student achievement I expected this year.
All right, item AC2.
Confusing to me.
Did you get that, sir? Yes. Okay. Item 8C2, consider approving the intergovernmental agreement between PUSD and Chino Valley School District, number 51, as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Brian, do you want to present actually first?
Absolutely, I would.
'Cause I did have one question.
So PUSD has a state-approved, what's called an EDP program. Students that have emotional difficulty possibly can have a psychoeducational evaluation and have an eligibility category of emotionally disabled, in which they provide services, and usually they're in the gen ed classroom, and there are rare circumstances where the needs of the child is more than the academic classroom with resource support. And so those students that need a self-contained classroom would, the IEP team, including the parent, would discuss their least restricted environment, and sometimes it is a self-contained classroom. The EDP, the P stands for private placement, is what we have. Not all districts have this. We have it at every level. Chino Valley does not have an EDP program, and so they would like.
They do at the lower levels.
Oh, the lower, but not the
school.
high school. I'm so sorry, specifically for this. And so they would like to partner with us, in which if they have a student that fits what we say we can take on a level of where their level of service is needed, we would bill them for their ADM, and they would come to PUSD for services and their academics.
If I can piggyback on that just really quick. Everything that Brian said is exactly accurate. Another piece to keep in mind, he alluded to this, but we would only consider bringing in a student from Chino Valley if we had room in the class. And we don't have a specific number for that. It's based very much on student needs that year. Sometimes we have students who are EDP placement that are generally really, really easy to work with. And sometimes we have some kids with EDP placement who are quite difficult to work with, and so we would kind of look each year, and it would be situational. At this point, if Chino Valley has an EDP student that they can't accommodate in their general ed classrooms, they're oftentimes sending them all the way to Mayer and paying for transportation there. It's less convenient for the student, less convenient for the family, more expensive, and so they approached us and said, would you be willing to look at this? And we said, we'd be willing to look at it. We certainly can't guarantee acceptance in every case, but on a case-by-case basis, we'll certainly look at it if it's something that's going to work for our kids that live within our boundaries and our teachers, and we can also accommodate another student and bring in a little bit of extra funding for our district. Certainly we would look at that. So that's what this this agreement is suggesting, is that we'll look at it on a case-by-case basis and accept the funding from Chino Valley as we accept students, when we accept students.
Does Chino have an outlet with a student that does have a P designator, or other than Mayer, or would it be us or Mayer or nowhere else to go?
It's a good question. I only know of Mayor and Us locally that has an EDP program.
Did we ever send ours to mayor, or we've always self-contained?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I was just curious.
For many, many years, we've had
You've
our
been a- we've been able to
self-contained
do it.
classes. Yeah,
Good.
we're big enough, we've got enough resources to be able to provide that. Smaller districts have a difficult time
Yeah.
with that.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions?
Well, I think my question had to do with numbers, but we don't know numbers yet, so.
As of right now, they don't, they
don't have
thought
anybody.
they had a student, and this was actually on the schedule for an earlier board meeting, but they ended up withdrawing, and so they moved. So right now, there isn't a
there's
student
no one
that
that they're
is
looking at.
driving this, but it's
Okay.
just in case.
We're fortunate that their EDP teacher, who's been at their middle school for the last few years, decided to shift to PUSD this year, so he is familiar with their students who've been in the program the last few years, and we also hired away their SPED director from them, so that person's also familiar. So for at least the next couple of years, we'll have a really good 360 degree view at the appropriateness of placement for students. And then after that, we'll do our best to work with them and see, and we'll err on the side of making sure our students have the attention and support that they need. And if we can also accommodate Chino as well, then it's win-win.
High school is the perfect time, I'd say, level for this,
Yeah.
because typically the students that do have that eligibility category of emotionally disabled, it comes out in elementary, and then if they continue with us, the whole purpose of the program is they use a specific behavioral program to get success back into the classroom so that they aren't in the EDP program. And so we rarely have a student that was with us from elementary to the high school that's still in the EDP program, because we've been working on their skills with them and all the resources for many, many years. So we've developed that success. So numbers are usually smaller at the high school.
All right. Any further discussion? Great. We do have a motion and a second. We did the presentation and we did a discussion, so a little unorthodox, but, so we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's 4-0. All right, moving on to item 8C3, consider approving the new student information systems specialist salary scale. Andy.
Yes. All right, so as Brian just mentioned a few minutes ago, yeah, we typically will bring salary scales in March, as we did this past year, to the board and highlight any that maybe we realize that for whatever reason, our scale is under kind of maybe surrounding districts or other districts around the state, and we did that last March. And so this proposal here is for one particular position, the Student Information Systems Specialist. That is a real important position that we actually started looking at a little closer back in June. As Brian mentioned, we had a resignation, and as we started looking at the position, what it entailed, and what surrounding districts were, what they were paying for this position, we realized our overall position was probably lower than the going rate. And so again, using that information, kind of developed what we felt was a fair and adequate salary scale based on our enrollment. That's one of the factors that we did consider is this is a position that is very dependent on what the enrollment is at the district. They're looking at student records every day, and obviously the bigger districts with more students are looking at more records. And so, we tried to be comparable with that. And so the document that's included in the board report has a variety of positions on it, but the only one that we've made any changes to is this Student Information System Specialist position. From a budgetary standpoint, it really is a little bit hard to compare apples to orange, or it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, because we do use a range. It's hard to say what the impact it will have. Most likely, it will actually be a little cost savings, because we have somebody leaving who's been here quite a while, and most likely it'll be unlikely that we find somebody with that much experience to replace. So most likely the new person will be coming in at a lower level. But for the most part, if we were comparing Someone who's brand new and with the old scale to the new scale, it would be about a $6,000 difference. But we feel like that's, again, more competitive for this position. So any questions?
You said it was about 10,000 difference?
About 6,000.
6, okay, thanks.
And do we have any people who have applied for this yet?
We have, and actually,
Possibilities?
we had a couple interviews today already,
Okay,
and
great.
another one scheduled for tomorrow, and we're hoping to make some
Wrap it
decisions
up.
hopefully really soon.
So we are losing Cheryl, what's her last name?
Lossell.
Lossell.
Lossell, yes.
I just, publicly, I want to thank her for all of her years of service. And I can remember when she first started with Power School, and I think now she's state recognized and training everybody else. That's a tremendous accomplishment. Sad to lose her. I know, so she's aware of the salary increase, and knowing that she's going to move, I just want to make sure it was presented. Was it presented to her?
It was presented to her as well,
Okay,
correct,
great.
yes. And
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, she should get first dibs, right?
Absolutely.
For sure. You're exactly right. Cheryl has been a great asset to the district over the years. She started as a paraprofessional and working in the computer lab here in Washington Elementary School, and has just shown a tremendous skill set and talents, and worked her way up into something that's absolutely crucial for our school district. The total number of days we want to be without this person who's on the back end of Power School is 0. And so it's fortunate we may have total number of days be 0. Andy and Michael particularly have jumped in
great.
and done a great job finding some good candidates for us, and we're hopeful that we will be able to make a smooth transition from Cheryl's excellent work to a new person.
Speaking as a parent, that Power School is a lifeline for many parents and students. So thanks for not letting it drop.
Yeah, and Lindy, you had a great question. The scale itself, about a $6,000 boost, but as Andy mentioned, because we're almost for sure going to bring in somebody much less experienced, there will actually be a savings to the district in the near term.
Great. All right. Where was I? Oh. So I would consider a motion to approve the new Student Information System Specialist salary scale. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, and all in favor, say aye. Any nays? No? All right, thank you. Item 8D, information and discussion items. 8D1, School Board Summary Budget Report for your review. Mr. Moore.
As presented, with one comment, Cara, last governing board meeting, asked whether or not there can be a column added to the report, specifically a description giving some areas in which the money can be spent. And so this governing board report did have that, and just wanted to see. I really did put it into 2 categories, restricted or unrestricted, and then a description for the restricted ones. And I wanted to know if that worked for the governing board members, or if you wanted to see any other tweaks.
I'd like to see when it's restricted,
I liked
personally.
it, yeah.
So the addition works for you.
Mhm,
All
very
right,
much.
as presented.
Nice.
As presented.
Well done. All right. We are moving on to item 8D2. So the PUSD Governing Board Self-Evaluation. So we do have the self-evaluation, each of us, right? The file folders for everybody. And so, just so everybody's aware, our board did a self-evaluation, and it was based off of 6 different areas. One was the board relationship with the superintendent, the board relationship with the community, board relationship between members during meetings, board relationships with staff and personnel, board relationship to the instructional program, and then board relationship to the financial management of the schools, and then any general statements. So that is available to the public. And you could see all the general statements that were given for all the board members that completed the self-evaluations. And then there was also a chart based off of the 20 questions. And if you're looking at the chart, it's either a 1, 2, or 3. And 3 represents satisfactory, 2 represents needs improvement, and U is unsatisfactory, but if you do it numerically, the 3 is an S, the 2 is an N, and the U is a 1. So overall, I counted that there were 11 that were in the satisfactory range within the self-evaluation. Mostly towards the tail end, if you look at the questions that pertain to the financial management of schools, and then the instructional program in particular. But there were some that I'd like to highlight that were our 4 lowest, which we need to improve.
May I interrupt?
Yeah.
You mentioned in what you just said about the board members who completed
Yep.
the self-evaluation. Does
Yes.
that mean that, am I assuming we all completed it?
How many completed, Sarah? 4.
Okay.
Okay. So 4 out of the 5 completed the self-evaluation. The item, I numbered it 6, so it's a 6th column from the left here. The board recognizes that the community expects their first and greatest concern to be the best interests of each and every one of the young people who, without distinction as to who they are or what their background may be. That was number 6, and that is that ranked in
2.25.
one of the 2.25s. Okay. The next one was in the board relationships between members during meetings, and we had 2 of those. The first and the last one, individual members of the board treat other members of the board and professional staff with respect during board meetings, and then all members of the board conduct themselves in such a manner as to emphasize that individual board members have authority only when convened in a legally conducted board meeting with at least a quorum present.
And what was the score on that one?
They were both on 2.25.
Both of those?
And then the board relationship with the staff and personnel, that's the 12th one over. The board members make every effort to become acquainted with the personnel of the district. So obviously some areas that I believe we need to work at. This, overall, I would say that we are really in the needs improvement. That's how I personally rank them. And then you could see the community comments the comments that were left. And I won't go through all of those, but any other discussion? All right.
I guess I don't have any comments, but I'm just a little surprised at the low number. For example, on the board recognizes that the community expects their first and greatest concern to be in the best interest of our students. I guess I'm just a little surprised it's that low. I feel like that's our number 1 goal, is to make sure that we really take the best interest of our students into heart. So I'm a little surprised.
Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to move on to where we got budgetary report, self-evaluation. 8D3, request for future agenda items. I'll entertain any future agenda items.
This was brought up at our last board meeting, but I think it's a good one for us to consider is looking at moving the November board meeting from
Yeah, I brought that
election
up.
night to another evening.
Yeah,
I was going to ask to put that on the agenda as well,
let's
that we move it.
let's put that on the agenda. Yeah.
We can certainly do that. Do you have a suggestion for what you'd like to see? You can discuss that now, I believe.
Discussion.
Day before? I don't know.
Either, maybe we do it on the 12th as opposed to the 5th of November, just move it a week.
The following Tuesday,
Yeah.
to remain consistent with the day of the week, or would you like to do it that same week and just push it off a day, whatever works for folks? I'll make myself
I don't really
available.
have any preference.
I don't have preference. I don't know if any other board members feel the same way, but
Do you have a preference?
yeah.
The 12th works. And I don't know why I have it
I
on
know
my
we have to
calendar
put that on
as
an
the 12th
agenda
too.
and vote on it, so.
I really do.
We can't vote
have
on
it
it
on the
tonight,
12th?
but.
I'd probably put it as
But
a
you can make a
reoccurring
suggestion
event.
for what comes on the agenda next time.
Okay. I would make the suggestion that we move the board meeting to November 12th from November 5th
Okay.
of 2024.
We'll
We-
make that an item that we,
We do have what are we trying to say? A holiday from school the day before, the 11th is Veterans Day. And we
Right.
typically try to avoid having a board meeting the day after a holiday, just because of the preparation that it takes on the part of
Right.
the district admin team. But I think we can do it. I mean, with this much notice, there's no reason. My wife does have a book group that evening, but I think she'll be all right.
The other option would be the 19th, but
That's
So it's the
Thanksgiving.
holiday,
That's
right?
Thursday.
Yeah,
that's-
we're
it's
getting
the
to-
Thanksgiving
yeah.
week, so,
I would say stick with the 12th or move it back to the week of and just change the day.
yeah.
As opposed to Tuesday, do it either the Monday or the Wednesday. Which
Okay.
would, that way it keeps it in the first week of November, but
So you're suggesting potentially the Monday, the 4th? Is that what you're saying?
Or
Did I
Wednesday
catch
the
that? No?
6th.
I would say Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 6th. I got you. Do you have a preference for what we put on the agenda next time for you to vote on?
I'd prefer it
prefer the
on the
6th.
12th
the
because Sarah would have difficulty if we did it on a Monday, getting everything all together, I think.
Okay.
Just,
It makes it a little easier on her, you're right. That's
Yeah.
thoughtful.
Except that the holiday falls.
Holiday
then.
the 11th.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we just
Oh.
talked about that. Either way,
If we
So-
moved it to the
To
Wednesday.
the
Don't work on
Wednesday-
Veterans Day.
As
Okay.
opposed to the 5th.
yeah,
oh,
I would
Wednesday the
prefer
6th would-
Wednesday the 6th is my preference.
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Let's propose that.
At your
Fine.
direction, we'll have that on our agenda for next
Okay.
time for you to vote on.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Let's do that.
Thank you, because I thought I was the only one that was concerned about that.
Thanks for bringing it up.
All right. Okay. Item 8D4, meeting dates, just for your calendars, regular study and voting session. Our next meeting will be on August 6th at 5 o'clock in this same room. Other dates to remember, the new teacher employee orientation, Monday through Friday, starting up July 22nd, right around the
Just
corner.
around the corner, that's right.
That's good to be. How many new teachers are we going to have in that orientation? Any
30
idea?
years.
So we're close to 30 new teachers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Why is that? What?
Because 185 of them wanted to stay, and
Ooh,
30
I
of them
like the way
went
you
someplace
put it
else.
on the
Oh,
back of
I
the door,
see.
that.
That's a great number, right, considering we're not
They're
a big
all
turnover.
coming to
absolutely.
the teacher's closet for open house, right?
There you go, there you go.
Can we
all about
ask,
that.
Sarah, would you mind sending invitations to us for those events? I'd like to get that on my calendar.
And then the PUSD convocation, always a great time at, on July 29th at the Ruth Street Theater. Is there a time you want us there?
1:30.
1:30 is when we're having our vendor fair, and 2 o'clock is the start time of the meeting itself.
Okay. You getting plenty of pictures from summer yet? Everybody? Who's taking
Yeah,
them? this
Shelley
year?
Shelley
Shelley's-
Reed pulls that together
that's
for us, and she just sent out a reminder a couple hours ago, and
Get them in. All right, awesome. And then first day of school is August 1st.
we're going to do it.
Do some school shopping. All right. That's a Thursday. I love, parents love
Chandler
that.
starts
Yeah.
next week.
Chandler starts next week.
They do, just to give you.
Do they do
on
like
next
a
Thursday.
modified
They do,
year-round?
But it's
Okay.
a little scary to be
Yeah.
starting next week.
There are a handful of districts that do a modified year-round. And
All
yeah,
right.
you're right, Mr. Galagos. We've had a lot of positive input from parents about that Thursday start. I know teachers love it as well. That first week, Monday through Friday, just everybody is tired and hates each other and says, we're 2 days, though, it gives us just enough runway to come back refreshed on Monday. And
Get our school supplies.
yeah, same number of days throughout the year. Either way, it's just a much nicer start is the feedback
Do we
we've gotten.
still have the Ks come half-days at the beginning?
No,
Not
we
anymore,
don't.
I didn't think so.
Nope,
'Cause they particularly get tired.
they do. They do.
What do you think, Mark? Is that okay? You ready?
Oh, does he have one in kindergarten?
All right, item 9, action items. So 9A, we are going to move into an executive session pursuant to ARS Section 38-43.03 for the following purpose. Consider moving into executive session for the conduct, or the conduct of the superintendent, no, to
That's one of those-
conduct the superintendent's evaluation. annual evaluation. So do I have a motion to move into executive session?
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. We are now in executive session. Thanks, everybody, for attending.